I think we're recording. Let me put this. Oh, our fellow left. There he is. Now, welcome Rodney and any of the others who may have joined us. I can't see the whole list. There's the whole list. I'm glad you're here. The music I really want you to recognize is, I'm going to show it to you, let you listen to it, is this one. This little knob right over here tells us we're recording. We're not recording with GoToMeeting, that's why it doesn't say it below. But thank you. Yeah, it is different. Now, tell me, can you hear the music well enough? What does it remind you of?
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my goodness, very good. This guy, Alan Menken, is a writer for movies. And he said, when he heard this music, we are weaving a spell. And he put it in the prologue to Beauty and the Beast. Does it sound like it's weaving a spell? He said, let me find what he actually wrote. I came up with a version of The Carnival of Animals, the aquarium part, by Camille Saint-Saens, the French composer, at the top of the movie, which is a very impressive and very timeless piece of music. We are weaving a spell, and that's the prologue music. When we got to Belle, we're going to go for something else. But as we weave the spell, we're using Camille Saint-Saens, the aquarium. Now, let's listen to The Beauty and the Beast and see how similar it is. Now, this brings back a lot of feelings of watching that movie and of Belle, who's innocent and in a world where she's safe and protected.
In a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. But then, one winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered him a single rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. But she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for beauty is found within. And when he dismissed her again, the old woman's ugliness melted away to reveal a beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late, for she had seen that there was no love in his heart. And as punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast concealed himself inside his castle with a magic mirror as his only window to the outside world. The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted rose, which would bloom until his 21st year. If he could learn to love another and earn their love in return by the time the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken. If not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope. For who could ever learn to love a beast?
And there it goes. There it goes. Let me see if I get back to the slideshow. Now, many of the most famous movies and commercials and other music that you hear in a grocery store, in an elevator, is not created out of thin air. Much of it, the best of it, is they get their ideas from classical music because that's sort of the best. And that's what happened in this music. Today we're going to talk about the composer of the Aquarium, the music we heard at the beginning. His name is Saint Saens. Those of you who know French will probably know how to pronounce it better. He's a romantic composer. Can you see he lived up to 1921? My dad was born in 1920. My dad is part of the greatest generation, and so Saint Saens is a little more contemporary to me than some of the other composers we've talked about. The academic concept and gospel principle. In this composition, it's a collection of songs, the Carnival of Animals, one of a dozen songs inside this collection of songs that would be Camille Saint-Saëns' most beloved work. It's what, yes, the swan part, yes, the swan is, that's a really unique part of the Carnival of Animals. It's the only part that Saint-Saëns would allow to be published and played in his lifetime. The rest of the Carnival of Animals, which are crazy funny, some of them he refused to allow to even be published. We're going to listen to some of those songs that are in the Carnival of Animals a little later today. And our gospel principle is, if we want real confidence, that's how we do it. And you all know that, to be full of charity and to have virtue garnish your thoughts unceasingly. So here we have little child prodigy, Saint Saens, Camille. He's the only child. His father dies when he's 2 months old. So his mother has her aunt move in with them. And his mother's aunt, this is a little boy, by the way, is a piano player. And she starts to have him tinker with the piano, but he doesn't pound on it like most 2-year-olds. He plays the keys and holds them down a while. And they determine that at age 2, he has perfect pitch, or absolute pitch, which means that you tell him the name of a note, he can hit it. And he can recreate things in his mind without hearing them at the time. By the time he was 3, he could read and write. By the time he was 3 years and 5 months, he had composed a real song. And that song is on display in the French National Library today. By the time he was 7, he'd mastered Latin. By the time he was 10, he played his debut concert. It was a very famous concert. It was reported in newspapers all around the world. What made it so unique and fabulous is not only did he play a Mozart concerto and something from Bach, something from Handel, something from Hummel, something from one other famous composer whose name I can't recall right this moment. But when he was all done with his concert, he stood up on the stage and said, "Now, Beethoven wrote 32 sonatas, piano sonatas. You pick any of those sonatas or all of them. I can play all 32 from memory on the piano." And he did. Whatever one they could pick out, whatever the one they could name, he could play. It was so fabulous that it was reported in newspapers around the world. Now, as a teenager, I need to put another piece of music on. This is the one I need to put on. This is what he composed. He had learned piano, now he was going to do the organ. As a teenager, he not only learned to play the organ, but he was in contests that were judged by some of the greatest composers of the time. Hector Berlioz, and let's see if I can remember some of the names of those other great composers that were the judges, but he won everything. He got first prize everywhere. And here's Hector Berlioz, what he said. Now I want you to think about this. Here's a kid who's done everything best from the time he's 2 years old. Hector Berlioz says he knows everything, but he lacks inexperience. When I read that quote, I thought, what could that possibly mean? Let me make this just a little smaller or move it out of the way. Can you all tell me what you think that means? That he knows everything but lacks inexperience. I'm going to pull over your chats. What do you think? I thought it was a misprint. I thought it must be he knows everything but lacks experience. He learned it all but not taken it seriously or to heart. Very good thought. I have no idea. Think harder then. It is a hard thought. It's a very deep thought. Mackenzie, you may be onto something. Can you explain that a little more? He knows everything, but he lacks inexperience. Let me ask you, who do you know that lacks inexperience? Who do you know that is inexperienced? Myself. There you go. Me too. Seems like he's saying that he is almost too experienced. Haley, very good. Really the feeling behind the music, I guess. Do you know if a person, everything you know how to do, you know perfectly, but you don't quite understand how to question? Very good. What happens to people with inexperience, like you and me? What happens to us because we don't know everything and we can't do everything? You learn. Yes, what else? As you learn, what happens? You do things wrong. Very good, Haley. And what happens when you do things wrong? You grow, you become experienced, you make mistakes, you ask questions, you grow and are changed. I wonder if that's what Hector Berlioz meant when he saw this teenager who had really never failed. He'd been the best of the best. He won every contest. He wowed crowds. He was popular around the world. He knows everything, but he lacks inexperience. Okay, well, there's that. Let's go back to that organ piece so you can watch that fellow play. It is totally amazing. During this time, he studied everything. He studied mathematics, archaeology, botany, butterflies and moths. He even wrote a book on philosophy, and in the book he was trying to replace religion with art and science. He was quite a pessimist. In fact, some people considered him quite atheistic, and he said, well, he might be a little atheistic, but he certainly doesn't deny the existence of God. Anyone who looks out at the world or listens to the sounds of the world knows that there's a creator somewhere. But he was not very religious, and he did try to explain things away with his mind. That caused some problems. Now, let's go back to our, why do I keep losing my PowerPoint? There we go. As a young adult, that's when he becomes the world's greatest organist. Franz Liszt, our friend from last year, befriends this young composer. He's one of the composers that Franz Liszt helped. He called Saint Saens the world's greatest organist. How can somebody learn so much so fast? Religious isn't exactly the, let's see, I can't see all of that on there. Let me move it over. Not religious isn't exactly the greatest thing. Do you know a lot of it he came with, Annika? He was born with it. He didn't learn to play the piano when he was 2, or by the time he was 2. When he touched a piano, he already could play it. When he touched an organ, he knew much about it already. That's what a prodigy is. A prodigy isn't someone who learns fast. A prodigy is someone who just already seems to know it. And Saint Saens was somebody like that. Let's see. Now, there was a sadness. I looked on Family Search and found his family. Tell me something you see on this family group sheet. Tell me everything you can learn by just looking at these names and dates. What do you see, Mackenzie? He is a lot older than his wife. He's more than twice as old as his wife. This picture is a sketching of him at the time he was married. She was 19, he was 40. What else do you see? His children died the same year. Yes. How old were his children, do you see? We know how they died, and it was a horrific way. His oldest boy, Andre, fell out of a balcony, off a balcony up 4 floors up, and Saint Saens was walking home and saw the boy fall and could not get to him in time to help. That was a great tragedy in his life that likely he never got over. Less than 6 weeks later, just in November, his younger son, Jean-Francois, died of a fever. He was ill and died. Now, Saint Saens blamed his wife, his young wife, who was now 22, very young. And they were together for 3 years and went on a vacation, and while on vacation he left and never came back. They were never divorced, but they were neither married, lived as a married couple. He died in 1921. She died in 1950 when she was 95 years old. It is a tragic story, and there is sadness in his life. And so for a boy who's lacked inexperience, this must have come as a very harsh thing. Let me see if I can find, I think this might be the one we want. Here is a song he wrote at about that time. It's called Danse Macabre, which is, whoops, I guess I maybe didn't want to go back there. Well, you listen to it and see what you think. Does it sound like a dance? I love watching these kids play it. These kids could be in Czechoslovakia or Venezuela or Australia or Finland, and young people all over the world are playing this wonderful, wonderful music, and I can't help but think that there's good in the world, a lot of it. Now let me show you, if I can. I want to show you what Walt Disney did with this. Now, I want you to notice here that they didn't give Camille Saint Saens credit, but you'll see that it is the Danse Macabre. And this is the way they saw it. Kind of spooky, which is what macabre means, is spooky or scary. We'll listen to it till the skeletons come out to dance. Wow! In Romania. Scared out of your skin? Oh. You can listen to it for another minute while we watch. Somehow, sadness in a person's life doesn't take the creativity out of them. Sometimes it just accentuates it. Now, the next 10 years or 20 years were the best years of his life. He wrote many things, including 2 violin concertos, including 9 operas. One was Henry VIII. Now, he lives where? Where was this man born? Camille Saint Saens? Can you write the country down, somebody?
It was France, wasn't it?
Yes, it was France. What do you think the French thought about a French composer writing an opera about English history?
It probably wasn't that smiled upon.
It wasn't smiled upon, you're right, but the opera was a success, in spite of the fact that it was about British history. Now, the most amazing thing that he wrote, he was on a vacation in another country, and while he was there, he wrote the Carnival of Animals. But you can see all the shh. Those of you who maybe went through the module, why do I put shh after Carnival of Animals? Anybody know? Oops. Because he thought that it wasn't, that he didn't know what his friends would say. He was afraid he would be made fun of. He was afraid that it would mess his reputation up. He considered it perhaps a chink in his armor. And yet it is his most well-known and most well-beloved work. One of you said that you liked the Swan. Oh, you know, here is the Death of the Swan. This is the one piece he allowed to be played while he was still alive. And it is a ballet here. You see this violin player is going to play the main part, and then there's going to be a beautiful ballerina, a Russian ballerina, play, and we'll watch part of that. You'll see why. Oh my goodness. That was beautiful. And that was produced while he was still alive. I wonder what the rest of it sounds like. And I'm going to have to go in here. I didn't set it up. I forgot to put this one up here. I hope that they're all, here we go. Now, we can choose some of these. This is the one with the lion. Now, you can look at these over here. Can you see? There's one about cocks and hens, wild donkeys, tortoises, elephants, kangaroos. There's the aquarium, people with long ears, cockatoos, the aviary, the pianists. We must see the pianists. We must hear the glockenspiel and the fossils. There's the swan that we heard. And the finale. Which ones would you like to hear? What I should do is play one and see if you can guess the animal he's talking about.
I want to listen to the glockenspiel.
Okay, let's go to the skeleton. Or the fossils, sorry. The fossils.
The fossils. At midnight in the fossil hall, it's party time for one and all the fossils, one by one, go skittling off to join the fun. The mammoths are a cheery lot, and watch the stegosaurs gavotte, while high above this ghastly troop, the pterodactyls loop the loop.
Tyrannurus gives a sigh to think of good old days gone by, then sheds a sentimental tear and goes and has another beer. Now the exhibition floors are filled with rattling dinosaurs, but in the morning, not a trace, for everyone is back in place.
I want you to notice who the piano player is. Okay, now I want you to know, I'm going to try not to go to the swan just yet. We're going to go back to the aviary. Where's the aviary? Now, just so you know, maybe I'll kind of skip some of his poetry. It's pretty nice. This is the exact collection of musicians that Camille Saint-Saens wrote this piece for, the Carnival of Animals. Now, you'll see it played by pianos, by violin, by a whole orchestra, but this collection of musicians is the collection he wrote it for. And so that should be interesting to you.
A requiem for worms. But while we worry over pitch or whether we're in time, the melody that they produce is perfectly sublime.
Aviary, you know, is a place where birds are housed.
Of tone or sharps or minor thirds, what takes a singer years to learn comes naturally to birds.
Oh, that is wonderful. Okay, we're going to do someone wanted the...
Pianists.
Okay, we'll do pianist first. Then we'll go back and do turtle.
The pianist is a splendid sight, scattering chords to left and right. It practices hours and hours each day until all the neighbors have moved away. So it's most important to understand, don't get between it and a baby grand, or even a concert grand. But there's nothing the creature likes so much as exercising its delicate touch.
There you go. That is cool. That is cool. Let's go back to the, what did they say?
The
Tortoise.
fossils.
The tortoise. And then
A tortoise. A tortoise lives a healthy life. It doesn't smoke cigars. It dines on fruit and lettuce leaves and never goes in bars. And so it lives for many years, a century or more. In fact, it doesn't come of age until it's 84. But don't think a tortoise life is dull. They have a taste for fun, and things begin to liven up as soon as day is done. For down among the cabbages they hold a cabaret, and with a wild abandon fling, they dance the night away.
Okay. Now, you can listen to all of those, and one of the homework assignments is for you to play those, some of those in your family home evening or in a group of children, and have them imagine what animal that could be. And they may choose a different one by what they hear. But certainly, well, and I should tell you, that's not Yo-Yo Ma. Yo-Yo Ma plays the cello, but this is, let me type the name of that piano player, and you'll see many, many, oops, let me type it in the chat box. You'll see many funny things that these guys do. E-S-M-A-N and J-O-O. Hope that should be, yeah, that's right. Check those out on YouTube. They have funny, funny things. And the only way you can be hilariously funny as a musician is to be better than the best. You have to have the classic skills down pat, and then you can start to be humorous with it. And certainly Saint Saens was that way with these pieces. Now, remember I said that Saint Saens didn't want any of this music, the Carnival of Animals, published during his lifetime because he had no confidence that his friends would like it. And let me show you two of his contemporaries and their opinions of Saint Saens, and maybe you'll be able to see why. Oh, shoot, I got to tell you one more thing. Back in the day, when Saint Saens was in his prime, they made movies, but there was no sound. And my grandma, who was born in the 1880s, when she was a teenager, would play for silent movies. And they would have a movie come in. Of course, it was black and white, and it was all kind of adventure and all kind of stuff. And they would hand her a stack of music, like about an inch or two thick. And that night, she would be playing that on the piano, watching the movie, and playing on the piano, and keeping up with what was happening on the screen by what she was playing. The exciting parts had to be the fast notes, and when it got to the romantic parts, it was the low, slow notes. She played for silent movies 5 nights a week as a teenager. Now, Saint Saens was the first famous composer to compose a soundtrack for a movie. And the name of the movie was The Assassination of the Duke of Guise. It's at the time of Henry VIII, and the Duke of Guise is murdered by his brother. The movie was only 18 minutes long. Let me see, we'll watch just a tiny bit of it right here. So you can see them acting. Here we go. It's all in French. I don't know what it says. I can guess by the way she acts, though. Give it to me, he says. I know you have something. No, I don't. Okay, I'll let you watch. Please don't go today. Please stay home, she says. So you all can watch this. I know you're very interested in this movie, but you'll have to watch it and so you can see what happens in the end. Because now I'm going to turn It's Like Perlman on and tell you. I'm going to turn this down so we can watch. Now, Saint Saens didn't have very much confidence, and I'm not sure why. Because here's the definition of confidence from the dictionary. It's a feeling or belief that you can do something well, that you can succeed at something. Now, who should have a lot of confidence, if that's the definition? I have a list of Saint Saens' successes. Remember, you can have confidence if you can do something well or succeed at something. So here we go. Recognized as a prodigy at age 2, possessed perfect pitch, could read and write at 3, composed a song at 3 years, 5 months, fluent in Latin at 7, played a concert at age 10 that was reported in newspapers around the world. He won first place every time he joined a contest. He composed his first symphony when he was 16. When he was 17, his symphony that he wrote was actually performed. He earned a reputation as the world's greatest organist. He was said to possess the greatest musical mind of the era. He wrote scholarly articles on acoustics, Roman theater decorations, and ancient instruments. He wrote a successful farcical play, which is one that's ridiculously funny. He was the first to compose music for a motion picture. He composed music so technically difficult, only a virtuoso could play it well. He held discussions with Europe's finest scientists. He became an expert in mathematics. He was distinguished in French literature. He wrote a philosophy book. He was fluent in Latin and Greek. He wrote about archaeology. He wrote a book of poetry. He studied geology. He designed his own telescope and had it built. He lectured on mirages. He scheduled his concerts around solar eclipses because he had a knowledge of astronomy. So, what was the trouble with him not wanting his most beloved piece? Why was he worried? Why didn't he have the confidence to just publish and perform the Carnival of Animals? Here's what people said about him in his day. What do you think of those two? Ravel was a very famous impressionistic composer, would come right after Saint Saens, but was writing music while Saint Saens was alive. What would you do if one composer said he's the closest thing that France has ever had to producing another Mozart? Well, somebody else said if he'd been making shell cases during the war, it might have been better for music. Could have been he was jealous. But the theme that we're talking about is confidence. Now let me show you. This is what it said in the New Era in 2007 about real confidence. Can you read that and tell me what you think of this definition as opposed to Merriam-Webster's definition? Annika, I think you're right about him not wanting to mess up his image. He had the wrong definition. Merriam-Webster dictionary, they sell a lot of copies. But they have the definition wrong when it comes to confidence. What they have is counterfeit confidence. The world tells you to be confident, you have to be better than others. You have to have more things, more talent, more intelligence, more popularity. This is simply not true. This is counterfeit confidence. And it seems to me, at least when it comes to the Carnival of Animals, Saint Saens had a counterfeit kind of confidence. Here's what it says in the Doctrine and Covenants. How do you feel confident? How can you have confidence no matter what anyone else says, or what you may have, or what you're able to do? The Doctrine and Covenants doesn't say you have to be any more than you are in talent and ability and knowledge. It just says that you need to be charitable. You need to think of others. You need to be virtuous. You need to be kind. You need to be thinking all of those ways. And then your confidence will wax strong. If you have confidence in the presence of God, you have the confidence in the presence of any other person. Now, the fun-filled composition, The Carnival of Animals, is Saint Saens' most beloved work, and he didn't have the confidence to publish it, which I think is pretty sad. True to yourself, love others, trust God, no matter what. He's the only one that matters when it comes to opinion. And the nice thing is you can be full of confidence and have very little natural talent. Or people who are, even handicapped people who are filled with confidence. In fact, the person playing this violin right now had polio when he was 3. His legs don't work very well. And look what he's done with his hands. It's pretty magnificent. So I'd encourage you to think through how to have confidence. When you go to the module, you'll see I think it's 6 students at BYU that are from 6 different religions, and they all talk about being morally clean, about being pure. And I want you to watch them and notice their confidence, their absolute confidence that life is good, that God loves them, that they are doing the right thing. And some are Christian, some are religious. You've seen that video, good. Then it's very impressive, their confidence. 6 kids filled with confidence because they all believe in being virtuous. It's pretty wonderful. Now, the homework assignments. One is to give an experience or a series of experiences. Let's see, maybe I'll pull this up. A series of experiences that you've had in your life that's built your confidence, or that has showed you that you need to build confidence in a different way. That's one thing. The activity I said before is to go through this carnival of animals with a group of children, someone in your family, and see if they can guess what the animals are. And that will be fun. Has anyone in this class played anything by Saint Saens? Have you ever played a piece of music composed by him? Well, you might want to seek some out. And now that you know who he is, boy, I can see the sun's going to be right in my face here in a minute. I played some of the Swan. Wonderful. So seek out some music. Seek out some to listen to. There's a couple of more pieces in the module that we haven't had time to listen to. For one thing, the organ piece, there's a full orchestra of kids from Venezuela who are playing that. There's a huge pipe organ in the background. But it's probably 100 kids in that orchestra, 4 bassoons, probably 40 or 50 violins, and they are magnificent. So listen to his music and learn to love it, learn to recognize it. And when you hear some in an elevator or a grocery store or a dentist's office, I hope you're able to recognize that that came from a classical piece of music. Maybe it will be by Saint Saens. Okay, let me hit the button and